Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and welcome to my monthly journal pages. Today we'll be flipping through my September pages and chatting about the journal spreads, techniques, and ephemera I created to connect with my personal tarot practice last month. So this month, one of the things that I added to my journal was this little charm, which I thought was really cute. It has a little fortune teller emblem here, a little fortune teller charm, and then a tarot card that actually came off a necklace. And this came out of a pack. If you want to see how I made this, I actually have a video on my other channel, which I will try to remember to link in the description box below. But I just was making some charms for my journals, and I came across this one, and I thought that would be a cute one for my tarot journal. I am actually going to be switching out my Traveler's Notebook cover in October, so we'll take a look at that at the end as well. So for this month, I created a little sort of woodland theme for my cover, and I just included a little field label tab, some scrapbook paper, a little stamp ephemera, and then this is just a piece of craft paper that I have stamped the month and date on. And I haven't really done anything else to it. I've just kind of added this little collage to the front to put my date on. So moving into the journal, I did actually create this as a pocket because I wanted to include some of that paper on this side just to break up the dragonflies a little bit, and I added this ephemera here. I didn't end up ever tucking anything into that pocket, but you know, it was there in case I wanted it. This is an old book page, and I just threw a big sticker in this little dragonfly. I was trying to make him fit over here, but he was really just facing the wrong way, so he ended up over here instead. This was just a collage I did on top of a book page. I did leave the back of this book page because I have included a lot of Casey Daisy book pages in here this month, and I'll try to remember to link that as well below in case you want to pick one up. I love her artwork and I love her books, and they make wonderful accents in my journal, and I use them quite frequently. So here was my first reading that I did, which was actually on the 31st of August, and I just included it in here because even though technically it was August, it was the last day. This is an actual coffee dyed page, which I have added some stamp to, color copies of my cards, some washi, a book page that I've actually written my little message here that says "Cut Through the Chaos" on that, and then here's my reflection. So you can see it's kind of just haphazardly collaged, but it actually kind of reflects, I think, the energy of the reading, which, as I said, was really about cutting through those sort of chaotic or those worrisome thoughts. That was really the message, and of course put the date at the top. And I love when I get little bits of coffee staining like that on there. Again, continuing on that week with these two decks, I did a collage for this 4-card reading that I did. I actually pulled 2 from each deck. Behind this, I have some antique book page, some washi, and some stamping. You'll see that in this month, I used a lot of collaging with washi, stamp, and book page. That was kind of my theme I ended up going for the month. Sometimes it happens that I tend to use the same materials all month long. Sometimes I mix it up a bit more. Just kind of depends on how I'm feeling. And I have my reflections about that reading as well on this side of the page, where I did just a little bit of collaging and a little bit of washi just to kind of tie the 2 pages together. But I think this page came out really pretty. So here's again is another reading that I did on Friday, where I just kind of wrap up my week here. And again, just have some book page, washi, and stamp. That's primarily going to be the theme throughout this month. Here was a creative prompt reading that I did. For this, I used some Happy Planner stickers. It was the primary over some coffee dyed paper, and really just included those stickers and wrote my message, my date here, and then I did add in some little, I don't know if it'll pick up on camera, but I wanted to add in a bit more of this blue color, so I added in, it was this colored pen here, added in just some dots around the page to kind of pull that blue color in as well. So here we have kind of my first self-care reading, and I was using the Mystical Healing. Generally, I use multiple decks for my self-care readings, but this month I just used this deck alone, and I really sunk into the messages. So you'll see that in my journal, the majority of what is written for my self-care is actually from the book, because I think the guidebook is really fantastic, and I really wanted to dive more into the messages that came from the book itself, and then to just do my own little reflections. Here I have some small book pages that I've incorporated into this journal. They were sewn into the signatures, of course. Here's a reading for Tuesday. I didn't end up doing like a Monday reading as I normally do. So here we begin the next week, and I was working with the Green Witch and the Botanical Inspirations. I love these two decks together. I think they have a really nice energy, and I just really put my cards in here, you know, color copied. I think all of the cards in this month were just put on my color copier, reduced to a certain size. I really can't tell you off the top of my head. Sometimes I did 60%, sometimes I did 50, sometimes I did full size. I couldn't really tell you off the top of my head which size I used. It kind of just happens in the moment. I just throw it on the printer and whatever comes out comes out. So I think these might have been 60%, but I could be wrong. Here's a little message that actually came from this card from the Botanical Inspirations, my reflections, and then I had some space, so I just did this little doodle over here, and of course added the date. So a lot of times for my dates and highlights, I don't actually use highlighter a lot of time. A lot of time I use these brush pens. This one's a Tombow. I also use the Artist Loft ones from Michaels. Those ones I use quite frequently. Just depends on what color I'm looking for. But I tend to use those a lot, like in place of a highlighter. You just have to remember to put the line down first and then right over the top of it, versus like a highlighter where you would write your text and then highlight. A lot of times if you do that, particularly if you're using just like a regular ballpoint pen, if you write first and then try to draw with a brush pen marker over the top of it, it'll actually smear or pull your ink up. So highlight first if you're using one of these type of pens, and then right over the top of it. So here was the Healing Ripples spread that I did. This is one of my spreads from Instagram. And you can see I just did a basic two-page layout for this one because I had quite a bit that I wanted to write. Again, here's my 3 cards that I pulled, and I just wrote 1, 2, 3 over the top. Here's the actual spread itself and the cards that I received and my actual reflections on my reading. On this one, again, we're just using, you know, I did some fun stuff with my writing there, some washi, a big sticker here and here and here, and washi and stamp. It really helps to pull all those elements together, and it really only takes just a few minutes to do. When I'm setting up a page like this, I really just throw the washi down the sides first usually. I will put my stickers in wherever I want them. I will usually do my stamping, and then I will actually go in and add the writing in and the cards and all of that. So the page is primarily set up first. So here is a weekly wrap-up message that I did on Friday, September 11th. And again, just some stickers, some font. I was playing with a gel pen. It didn't work out very well, but you know, that's okay. For glue, so I get a lot of glue questions. I primarily use my Uhu stick for almost all my cards and most of the lightweight papers. If it's a heavier cardstock that you see in here, then I use the Fabri-Tac glue, because the Uhu stick, this doesn't really work great with really heavy cardstock, so a lot of times I just use it for the thin paper, because this is just like color copy paper. So I just have my date down here. Again, I was still playing with that gel pen that didn't work out very well, and just a sticker. Stickers here, nothing fancy. These pages really didn't take that long to set up this month. There were a couple when I did the multiple layers that did take a little bit more time, but for the most part, I did pretty quick and easy this month. Even though it really doesn't look like it, these pages really didn't take that long to do. It actually took me longer to write my reflections than it did to set up the pages. So for this one, we have my Self-Care Sunday. I did just a piece of book page. This is vintage book page from a lettering book. Some washi, a big sticker, and then I have a big sticker here, washi here, and this one is a full-size color copy, and I just added some dots around, again in my brush pens, just to add some color, to kind of pick up those colors from the card. And then we have the messages from the guidebook, and then my own reflections and the date. So you can see the theme here this month is pretty consistent, with the exception of this spread. This was my kind of middle of the month. You can see that the first question is, what is my deal lately? So this was my what is going on with me? Why am I feeling this way? And what can I do about it? And I just did washi and sticker, and it was a little bit haphazard and a little bit collaged. It's over some coffee dyed paper. And that really matched the way I was feeling at the time. So I really let it kind of reflect that kind of little bit out of sorts, because that's really how I've been feeling pretty much all through the month of September. And I just added a little strip of washi down the side over here again, just to kind of tie that in. Again, this marking behind here is a brush pen, and then I just use the colored pens for the cards, and then of course my own writing. This was just a simple collage that I did. I just needed to pull a card for the moment. I used my Llewellyn Tarot, pulled the sun, and just did some really basic collaging. This is another book page from the Katie Daisy book. I love the way this one looked, so I didn't do anything with either side of it. So here we have another creative prompt reading, so to speak. I say reading, but they're more of a creative springboard for me. And for this one, I just did color copies of my cards again, still using that Muse Tarot and the Inner Compass. And these are just happy planner stickers that I really didn't do a lot to this page. I cut my cards out, I pasted them down, I put some stickers down, pasted my cards in, put this sticker over the top, wrote my little reflections here, put a little sticker here, and made this little half border. That was really all there was to it. It probably took me all of 5 minutes to do. So here we have moving into another week, and I was working with the Second Nature Tarot, and this one I did quite a bit more collaging. I was just, I had some more time, was having a little bit more fun. Days where I have more time, then I do a little bit more in my journal. Days where I don't have a lot of time, it's really simple. Throw some stickers down, my cards in, write my reflections, and away I go. But for this particular page, I had some extra time. So I included some book page here, some scrapbook paper. There is some washi behind it here and some washi here. Did a little stamping and then just cut my cards out and put them in here. Again, you can see that I did some stamping on the top here, and that just really adds to that distressed look that I was going for this month. The messages from self spread, and again, this was another one that I posted on Instagram, and I just did kind of a similar theme that you'll see through this week, that I was using the same basic materials, the same piece of scrapbook paper. I did include some coffee dyed tracing paper, book page, and then a couple of these little stickers. And I just have my 3 cards here, my title, my date, and then my reflection. Then over here I did a little bit of an end of the week check-in, where again I just pulled in some book pages, some coffee dyed tracing paper, scrapbook paper, stickers, my cards, and then my reflections. And here is my mid-month check-in that I did. So this one I did a bit more, I had a bit more time, so you can see I did a bit more collaging. I have paper here, old book paper here, some scrapbook paper, stickers, some washi, of course my cards. This was another 4-card reading. You can see it just all kind of layer upon layer upon layer until I get this nice collage look. This piece of washi is across here because the first time I wrote this, I wrote it up here and I misspelled it. So rather than like trying to scratch it out and all that, I just threw a piece of washi over the top of it and wrote below it. And then of course my reflections. Washi will cover up a multitude of sins. A lot of times where you see little bits of washi in my journal, well, this isn't not here, but I did those on purpose. But like here, it's because I've made a mistake and I just cover it up with washi. So here we have my next self-care Sunday spread, and I didn't have a ton of time, so I didn't do a ton of collaging, just pulled in some of the colors that I really liked. I put some book page over here and just some basic stamping. And here we have another weekly reading that I did. And again, just some basic scrapbooking type of thing. You can see over here I did a lot more collaging. I kind of mimicked this over here with some of the scrapbook and some of the washi just to balance it out. But I started basically with this big piece of scrapbook paper that's back here, and then layered the 2 different washis over the top of it. And I put this big sticker to overlay both the pages to pull them in together. And I added this piece of craft paper behind it because this card color was really similar to the paper color, because this is on coffee dyed paper. And just to create some contrast so it stood off, I put it on some craft paper. And then I stamped Monday, and here's another case where I have used collaging to cover up a mistake. So underneath this little piece, I really do like the tie-in of red here because we get those pops of red throughout, but I really ended up doing that because I wrote the date here and I did not like the way that it looked. So I just pulled a piece of this off to kind of fit that space that I was trying to cover up, glued that over the top and wrote my date here down at the bottom instead. So here we have the inner illumination spread, and this is one that I also did on Instagram. I use a lot of the spreads that I put on Instagram. I don't always use them the day I put them up, but sometimes I actually do. But I do use all the spreads that I have on Instagram are all spreads that I do use myself at various times. But this month I actually did, I think, all of my Wednesday spreads, I think I did actually on the day I posted them, which is good for me. So on this one, I just did some washi here. You see, this is my favorite washi and I use it all the time. So it features quite often in this journal. Little washi here. This is actually a scrap of one of the Katie Daisy pages. So I had this little scrap left and I just love the color of it. So I put it in here. Wrote my inner illumination spread. Here's my cards. These were the prompts, the cards I pulled, and my reflection. And again, just some little washi down at the bottom to create a kind of header and footer, just to pull the page together, make it look complete. This is another page from the Katie Daisy book, and I just love the way it looked on its own. Again, both sides. I tend to leave those as they are because I think they're so pretty. So here is another wrap-up reading kind of for the week with some basic just collaging at the top and bottom. I have some scrapbook paper, washi, again, some of that craft paper. It was hard to write Friday over all of this layering, so I really should have written that before I glued it in. So again, another self-care reading. I didn't do a ton to this one. There is a sticker here and a sticker here, and that is pretty much it. It is on coffee dye paper over here, so this is just a full-size color. But you can see here that most of this is these sort of decorative elements actually come from the pen and from my writing. So I did my title, the date, practice positivity. That's of course the card I pulled, and this is from the guidebook. And then I have my reflections here, and you'll see this little washi butterfly. Again, it's another little mistake that I made. So I just, I kind of scratched it out and then it looked really terrible, which I hate doing in my journals. So I just put a little washi butterfly over the top of it and kept on going. Totally works. And here is one of my last few readings in the book. This is the start for the last week in September. And here's my 3 cards. Again, just scrapbook paper. This is old book page. I really wanted to pick up on the orange and the green in this 5 of rods here. So you'll see that reflected in the scrapbook paper that I chose. And here, this is just a layer up of vintage book page and scrapbook paper. And then I did some stamping, of course, just to add that texture to the back, and wrote the date and my reflections. This is another one of my Instagram spreads. This is the self-balance spread, and this is one of my favorite ones to do because you have one card to represent the outer world, one card to represent your inner world, and what you need to do to balance those two things. And you can see here that I just did my, usual. I did put some book page behind it because I wanted that pop of white to pull in from this flower. And just some stickers around my cards, some stamping behind it, and again, stickers and washi. And a lot of this is more, me getting a little bit more creative with my writing. And then here we have my September reflection. So this is the end of my insert for September. And I just wrote my 3 prompts that I use every month. And I just put a big sticker over here that matched the colors I was going for and made the little border. And that is pretty much the end. I do have some blank pages in the back, but that's okay. There's only a couple. I could go back and maybe add some more to them if I really wanted to, but this is a book page, so it's pretty as it is. And that's the end of the insert. So that is my September tarot journal. So moving into October, I actually got a new traveler's notebook. It is another Chic Sparrow, of course, and this one is the Tea House line, the Americano, and it's also the same size, B6, and this one is the deluxe, so it has the pockets and the pen loop on it. And one of the reasons why I decided to get a second one is because, as I've mentioned before many times on my channel, my practice is very seasonal, and so I like to have things that kind of bring in that seasonal energy for me. And for me, this particular color, this Mr. Darcy, I absolutely love this journal. It's not going anywhere. I'm gonna try using this as my spring and summer tarot journal to bring in that lovely lighter color, kind of like, you know, bringing in a little bit of sunshine. And I decided I'm going to try out this Americano for the fall and winter months because, again, it pulls in that darker feel. And I really like things to sort of reflect the seasonal energy. I have thought about getting one for each season. At this point, I'm not quite that committed yet. These are not cheap covers, but I love them. I have many of them now. And so I'm going to pull this one aside and just kind of store it away until next spring. And I'm going to use this one moving forward, provided that after, you know, a month or so, I don't completely miss my Mr. Darcy here. But I really think I'm gonna like this little darker feel to it. But basically what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to move my inserts. So this one is my yearly insert. And that for right now, and of course my pen, is really, I'll throw those in there too because I like to have this little card in here. I don't know why. And this is my journal prompts for every month. The rest of this I'm actually going to leave in here for right now. I am going to do a video on how I'm going to bundle up all of my monthly inserts for the year when we get closer to the end of the year. And I did create a spread journal to include in here. I do have, there's nothing in it yet. It's just empty pages. Because I thought I wanted to put my spreads in here, but turns out I actually like them being in a separate journal because then I can be working in this journal and having my cards out and have my spread journal out and having it laying all on the table at the same time so that I can see the spread that I'm working on. I can be working in my journal and have my cards out and not having to be flipping, you know, from here as I'm writing things in and then back here to the spread to see what position that was in or something. And so while that is cute and it's in there, it's actually not going to get used. I'll actually just pull this little title off and use it for something else. And so this is pretty much just going to hang out the way it is for right now. And I am going to put this stuff in this one. So here's my journal prompts and my little inner compass card that just, I don't know, needs to live in here for some reason. I just feel like it does. One of the ideas that I'm toying with for 2021 is to actually do my inserts rather than having them by month as I have here, to have them by season. But I'm not sure if that's going to create too much bulk in my journal to work with. Like, so if I have, you know, October, November, and December all in here, is by the time I get to the end of December, is that going to be too much bulk for me to work with? So what I'm going to do to kind of test this out is I've actually already made my inserts for October, November, and December. I haven't decorated them or anything. I've just made the covers and I've just put the pages in. And that's really all I've done. But before I actually bind a huge seasonal insert together, I thought what I'd do is try them all still in their individual by the month and just leave them all in here. But even if I had bound these into one seasonal notebook, it would be a pretty big insert. So I want to make sure that I can actually work with this much bulk in my traveler's notebook before I go to the trouble to make like one gigantic one for each season. Then that would mean I'd only have 4 of them to try and store at the end of the year, but I'm going to test it out first. So because there are 4 bands technically in these traveler's notebooks, I'm just going to put all 4 of these, my yearly one, in as well, which I'm going to be making some changes. And I have a feeling I'm going to have to loosen this a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of loosen these. And we're going to slide these all in here. I definitely have some things that I'm going to be doing differently in 2021, and we'll be talking about that in a video closer to the end of the year. So this one will be December, so it's going to go on the end here. These are not very thick inserts, so they should all lay in here, but the problem is they start out like this, and then they end up looking like that because I add so much stuff to them. So that's where my kind of, I don't want to say concern, but that's where my, yeah, concern lies, is in that going to work? Or am I going to end up with too much bulk in here? So we're going to give it a shot with these 3 first. And then this way, if it does become too much, I can just take these ones that I'm not using out and go kind of back to my normal model that I've been using all year round. But I just want to see if this is going to work. I generally don't like to use this 4th band because I don't like this big knot in the middle, but we're going to have to for this particular little trial. And so there you can see it's not very thick or full yet, but it will be as I add more to it. So, and I haven't decided if I'm going to put like a charm on this one because the cover is going to scratch really easily, so I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to try to get my pen to bend more in there, which is actually what it's supposed to do. So there, now I'm all set up for the darker months of the year in my Darker Traveler's Notebook. Thank you for joining me for this flip through my tarot journal pages. If you'd like to find out more about any of the decks that I used this last month, check out my monthly reflections video, which you will find linked in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this flip through and will join me again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.